Hey everyone, today I'm giving you a tour of my pantry showing all the goods that I preserve from my harvest. I'll walk you through everything that's stocked up and how I preserve it along the way. In this video, I'm giving you a tour of my pantry showing you how I store and organize all of my canned goods and frozen goods from my own garden as well as a few local farms in the area. From homemade tomato sauce to canned green beans and beets, I'll show you my own process for preserving these items and some tips and tricks along the way for a self-sufficient pantry. So I had two goals in mind when I began my pantry just a few years ago. First, I wanted to feed my family as much locally grown and organic food as I possibly could through preserving it or freezing it. Second, I wanted to support local farmers in the area who depend on this as their livelihood and also reduce my own dependency on big store grocery chains for fresh produce. Now, I will not deny it certainly does take time to store and preserve all of these items. It takes an initial upfront investment to purchase the items, to purchase the pressure canner, but it is an initial upfront cost. And when I compared that to the skyrocketing grocery bill that I was seeing in my own household, I knew that it was a no-brainer for me. And also I enjoyed the process. So oftentimes on Sunday afternoons, I will process and pressure can items with my family and we kind of make a day of it. So it ends up being really quite fun. So this pantry is by no means large. It is a relatively small pantry compared to some other more established homesteaders out there who have very large pantries, but we all start somewhere, right? And that's, I guess, the primary point I want to make is that if you're thinking about starting a pantry or if you're thinking about getting into canning and preserving, I would just say start. Start with a tomato sauce. That's the easiest one to begin with, and there's many tutorials out there, and it's a pretty simple thing to get your hands on and just kind of do and see an end product. So this pantry here is just about 2 to 3 years old. That's really began getting into preserving my own food. What you see here is a culmination of our own harvest this year, as well as a few items that I purchased from my local co-op, where I also supplement my vegetables throughout the year. My pantry is also not a formal pantry in the traditional sense, like I don't have a walk-in area. This is actually in the corner of our play area for our kids in our basement. It was the spot that made most sense to me, that's closest to the kitchen, and I can easily see it. One day, would it be great to have a formal walk-in pantry? Absolutely, but for now, this is what I'm working with. So let's just keep it real here and let me show you what it actually looks like. This is just a quick glimpse of what I'm looking at right next to my pantry. So if you're thinking that this is a perfect setting, by no means is it. So let me get up close and show you all the items that I've preserved. Right here we have a bunch of tomato sauce that my husband made, and typically what we do, we kind of make a day of it. We harvest all the items, my husband makes the sauce and I can the sauce. We've already gone through about 5 jars so far, and we still have a bag of frozen tomatoes in the freezer that will can up over the summer. So these will last throughout the year. And right behind here, I have some pickled peppers as well as pickled cucumbers that my husband canned, and those are also water bath canned. Here we have a pesto sauce. We actually got that from a friend, so that will store nicely. And here we have green beans that we pressure canned from our own garden. This is our entire harvest. We already have gone through 2 jars, and these are the Kentucky Wonder variety, I believe it's called. It's a bush variety, and they were prolific producers. And these are pressure canned, no salt added, so these will hold us for quite a while. Right behind here, I was experimenting with pressure canning beans. It was my first time doing that. I already opened 1 jar of a different variety, and that tasted good. The liquid in this one has turned a bit brown, so I don't know if that is typical of beans or if that is a sign that maybe I didn't seal properly, but I will experiment with that. And here we have some sweet peppers that were also given to us as a gift. And right below here are sliced green tomatoes. If you're wondering what to do with all those green tomatoes that are left on your vine, end of September, October, this is a great way to leverage all of that fruit that is not going to ripen. And if you want access to green tomatoes over the winter, My goal with this is to try to make fried green tomatoes. I'm going to see if it kind of replicates and still maintains that crunch. So I will keep you all posted on that. But regardless, you can use this to saute or really add it to anything. You could use it to make salsa. These are pressure canned, so they don't have anything added to them, no salt, no vinegar, so you can really play with the flavor on this as much as you'd like. Right next to this, I have, about 8 quart jars and 3 pint jars of pressure canned tomatoes, carrots. We've already gone through 3 pint jars, and these I purchased from my co-op that I belong to. So I purchased an additional add-on of 10 pounds of carrots, and I wanted access to really large quantities of carrots. We have littles in the house, and they just love these for dinner throughout the year. So it really is a nice way to access some local fresh grown produce in an easy way. These are pressure canned, so when you open them, they are pretty soft, but you can do a number of things with these. You can just serve them steamed with salt, for example, or you can make it mashed. Really kind of depends on your flavor and what you're looking for, but they are just really versatile. And right below here, I have canned beets. And canned beets can only be safely canned in a pressure canner without vinegar. So you can water bath beets, but they have to be pickled. These are pressure canned without any flavor or any additives because I wanted the ability to, have variety in my flavor profile without always having things pickled. So that is a great option. And we've already gone through 3 of these jars, and my kids really like them. A few tips for storing your canned good items. I always make sure I label them with the date and what it is, even though I know it might seem obvious just from looking at the jar. For example, this one here is tomato sauce but no basil added, and it was jarred in August of 24, whereas this one is tomato sauce, but it always has basil in it because that's my husband's recipe, and it was jarred up in 1024. And I do like to kind of organize them chronologically. That way I'm always picking this one first and then this one after, because this one is older than this one. So I do try to kind of keep that methodology. That way I'm always using the oldest product first. And it just helps keep things fresh and make sure that items don't get stale on the shelf. Right next to my canned goods, I have a handful of squash varieties as well as pumpkin. I actually got all of these from the local co-op that I belong to, Nichols Farm, which is where I also got these carrots. And it was a really great way to store these items. These will hold for quite a long time. Our basement is not quite cool enough to store and overwinter items that need to be just a bit on the cooler side, like potatoes. So we go through our potatoes very quickly here. I harvested probably about 30 to 40 pounds of potatoes this year, and probably 40 or 50 pounds of potatoes in the year before. And I'll throw a picture up on the screen of that harvest. But typically these are right next to this box, and they will mold quickly if we don't kind of go through them. So what we'll actually do is use them for Labor Day parties or big grill outs or cookouts during the summer, and use them up pretty quickly. So it's kind of a potato heavy month in September, or July, August, and September, and then we kind of ease off of them. I am really grateful for this squash harvest here because my squash were decimated this year from squash bugs. So I was really happy to have access to some squash. So it was kind of a bummer for me, and I'm hoping that I can prevent them next year from coming back. So I'm walking in my basement to my second fridge that we purchased to keep downstairs to store some of the items that we have from our co-op, as well as the frozen fruits and veggies. So let's take a look at what we have. So right here, I can see already I've got a bag of frozen tomatoes here, as well as here. There's quite a bit. And if you're wondering, you can just toss them in the freezer whole like this, and then we literally just toss them all in a pot, cook them down, skin and all, and make it into a sauce, a tomato sauce. So this will likely can up to an additional 2 quart jars, which is pretty exciting. And we'll probably do that on a really cold day in winter because it's a fun activity to do. I'm now headed back upstairs where I'll take out all of my frozen items that I've put up in my upstairs refrigerator and show you how I frozen and sealed them. So what I think I'm going to do, because I still have not had a chance to organize my freezer in the way I'd like, I'll take everything out and put it on my kitchen table and then walk you through. So here are the items from my freezer that I pulled out. And before I go into detail on all of these, I just want to talk about why freezing foods might be a better option than canning them. First of all, storage. If you have an extra fridge in the basement or the garage, go ahead and leverage that space and freeze your items. It is certainly more time effective, I think, than canning. Freezing items really doesn't take much time at all, except if you vacuum seal, and that really only takes a minute or two. Secondly, some items just taste better frozen and or have not been deemed safe to can. So for example, yellow squash here and green peppers as well have not been deemed safe to can by the National Food Processing Home Preservation Association. I think that's the name of it. So they have not deemed a safe recipe that will safely can items that they can have a shelf-stable life on the shelf. And also they will turn mushy in the can. So I opt to dice these up, freeze them, and that way I can just toss them into stir fry. It's ready to go, and I have a lot of versatility with the vegetable itself. So there's really a lot of advantages to freezing items, and it's just a great way to preserve things in an easy way. So not a huge pantry, but it's a lot to get started, right? And that's again the point I want to make. It just every little bit counts, right? And we all start somewhere. So I'm really happy with my pantry so far and all the items that I've been able to process and preserve. So that's going to do it for today. I hope you found this video helpful and useful. Please like and subscribe and tell me how you process your foods. I'd love to hear what methods you use. And if you have any questions, drop in the comments below. See you in the next one. Bye.